Okay. Okay, good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay. We're trying to do it live and online as well, and that doesn't always work. Anyway, my name is Stan Komarek. I will be your chair today. My fellow panel members, Sophia Ruddick on my left, Dominic Gully, who will shortly return, also on my left, Don Taylor on my right, and Laura Alderson on my right. I'd also like to introduce Barbara Bertozik, who is our general manager here, and Barbara's staff in the pit. Okay, in accordance with Section 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to property. Also permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and to grant consents to sever property to create new lots. I'd like to do our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territories of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. I'd just like to briefly go through our hearing procedure today. The Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted, as I had mentioned, in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person. Others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called to speak. Those participating by video appearance will temporarily be upgraded to panelist when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled and you will be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. All other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during the video appearance. The host will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect these instructions. Receiving copies of the decision. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, as the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Board, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons under the public bodies, persons and public bodies as defined by the Planning Act are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Going through hearing procedures, I will call each item in order listed on the agenda. When making your submissions, where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and or take the matter into the committee for decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. We will comment when you are reaching the 5-minute mark. Any presentations or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. Committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposition of the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we first call on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating online. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the other speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for decision. Okay. So moving on to our agenda, before we start the items, can we get confirmation of the previous, what, December? Not sure what.
December 7th.
December 7th. Confirmation of minutes of that meeting.
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of the minutes of the meeting on December 7th.
And I can second that.
All in favor? Okay, the minutes are approved. Does anyone on the panel or in staff have any conflicts to declare with regards to any of the items on the agendas?
Chair, good morning, Chair. I need to declare a conflict on item number 6, Cordova Avenue. I've done some work for the applicant recently on a transportation matter.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gully. We'll ask you to leave when we come up to that item. Madam Chairman, is there, Madam Secretary Treasurer, is there any files to be closed?
None today, Mr. Chair. We just need the extra motion that the Etobicoke York panel of the Committee of Adjustment does not excuse any absences from the January 18th, 2024 Committee of Adjustment hearing.
Okay. Is someone willing to move that motion?
I'll move as stated by Barb.
Second.
All in favor? So approved. Okay, I guess the next item, before we get to the top of the agenda, it would be to go through the list of items that deferrals are being requested. I believe our first item is actually one that I believe is being deferred. So, and the speaker for that item, Michael Fort, agent, on video.
Audio only, Mr. Chair. Now, just as a note that we did not microphone check them as they weren't in right away, but I will go ahead and unmute them now. Michael? Michael, you're on. There we go. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. I believe you're asking for a deferral.
Welcome, sir. I believe you're asking for a deferral.
I did not request a referral, so I'm not sure what the origin of that request is. Maybe someone could clarify that.
Well, urban forestry is also, but we also have.
Urban forestry is also, but we also have.
Can you check if all of their microphones? So, Mr. Chair, we have an email on file. I believe it's from one of the registered owners, Lim, sent in on January 10th. And we also have been advised that the sign was not posted on the property, and I don't see the signed declaration or photos on file. So if the applicant could address that.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that issue, but I'll get in touch with the owner today and we'll get that straightened out. Sorry about that.
Okay, just a footnote, for forestry was also requesting a deferral, so you may want to ask your applicant to reach out to them as well in the interim.
A deferral? Sorry, what is the reason forestry is requesting a deferral?
They want more information.
Okay, do we have a letter from forestry? I don't think I've seen that.
Okay. Is it on the?
So is it on the?
It's posted right now.
Yeah, you should be checking.
Okay, well, if someone could email.
No, you can check on AIC. It's your responsibility as the agent to see what's on the file. They're asking for refusal of your floor space index variance. And they're also asking for a deferral.
Okay, that's fine. I'll be responsible to check that, but I wasn't aware it was there. So thanks for letting me know. We'll follow up.
Okay. Because it's like I can't speak. I know, that's what I was going to next. So there were other speakers for this item, so if we could just check in with them and explain what's taking place. Have the first speaker is Mark McKinnon, is that? Thank you, sir. So you understand, you're okay with the deferral? Yeah, oh, by the way, I have the same shirt as you do. I know. Well, at least I'm not wearing mine today. So essentially what we're considering is deferring this item, not discussing it today. So don't want you to address the merits of the issue, just whether you're okay with the deferral or not.
Yes, I won't address the merits. Good morning, everybody. Yes, and it was actually myself that brought to the committee's concern. We had a concern regarding the postage of the signage and that the community was engaged. If this matter is going to be deferred, and I noticed a couple of comments there, I think it's also value if the committee would make that consideration that within a deferral also is whether there could be an order for some community consultation on this. It is a very large project, and there's been no consultation with the neighbors or with the neighbors in planning. And I think we'd like that opportunity, and then hopefully we could come back forward here with a resolution.
For sure. I think that's well noted, and given that it is going to be deferred, the applicant should take that under advisement to use that time. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Andrew? Is Andrew Fedorsk? Same thing. If you're okay with the deferral, just wave. Otherwise, okay. Thank you, sir. Christine Mercado online.
Go ahead, Christine.
Hello, Mr. Chair. I've been listening, and I'm with Mr. McEwen about being for the community consultation, but I'm just a little unclear on whether the consultation could be made a condition of the deferral. Urban Forestry is asking for a refusal because of the dimensions. There are planning issues, so therefore there are planning issues as well. And the application hasn't been well received by impacted residents. So I think coming back for the same application, I don't think it's a good use of anyone's time. So if that could be a condition, that would be appreciated.
It's not something that we can readily enforce, members, so we have no way of ensuring that it happens. You can recommend it, but I'd prefer you not make that as part of your motion if you defer the application.
Thank you, Barb, and thank you, Ms. Mercado, sorry. Is Andy Choles online as well, or?
Yes, Mr. Chair, one moment.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, sir.
Deferral, I think that's a good idea, and consultation, I think that's an excellent idea.
Okay, I'm hoping the agent's taking that under advisement as we continue on our process here. Thank you, sir.
Let's hope so, yeah.
Okay, members, anyone ready for a motion?
Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion on this item. I'm going to recommend that the application be deferred in view of the fact that urban forestry has concerns with respect to issues 2, 4, and 5. Also defer at the request of the councillor, and also cautionary note to the applicant that planning has conditions, and those conditions may require further consultations with the community.
Thank you, Mr. Gully.
I'm happy to second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. All in
And
favor?
can we add to post the sign as required because they did not
Yes.
post it this time? Thank you.
As amended, all in favor? Okay, item is deferred. Just checking in, item 6 is not being deferred now?
I don't have a request, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
The next one is item 10.
So item 10, 53 North Queen Street. Let me just find my speakers list. Morgan Dundas, virtual audio.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, we're requesting a deferral today simply for the matter of allowing us more time to work with community planning. They've requested a landscape plan that we've been working hard to perfect to really beautify the site, and that's the purpose of the deferral today. So we can finalize that landscape plan, submit it, have community planning in agreement, and move forward with another hearing date.
Thank you, sir. I'm assuming there's no one else here to speak on this item. Okay. Panel members?
Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion to defer the application, both at the request of the applicant as well as the request of planning for further consultations.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, item 10 is deferred.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think that's it for this morning, Madam Chair. Yep. Okay. So back to the top of the agenda, we would be starting with item number 2. Let me just get...
Mr. Chair, just before we dive into number 2, I want to bring to your attention that the agent did not register, and I do not have him on my attendees list to call upon virtually. And so I do wonder if Dragon is present in the council chambers. Is the agent present for item number 101 Prenan Ave in the chambers? No, Mr. Chair, they are not. If you don't mind, we should stand number 2 down for a moment while we try and reach out to the agent.
Okay. All right, so we're going to hold number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
It should be noted that there is an area resident on the call, and they are present at this time.
Apologies to the residents. Hopefully, we won't. We'll be able to connect with the applicant soon. So, item 3 is 1411 Islington Avenue, and this is also an application to widen the existing driveway. And there is one variance. And we have the applicant only. And again, didn't pre-register. Are you able to get
Mr. Chair, the agent is present on the call, and they are unmuted.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Staszki?
Wojtek Staszczyk.
I should know better than to be able to pronounce that. Thank you. Welcome, Wojtek. I think this is a pretty straightforward application. Is there anything you'd like to share with the panel members or just questions? I'm not sure if we need a full presentation.
Yes. Okay, so good morning, anyway, Mr. Chairman and committee members. So my name is Wojtek Staszczyk, and I represent the property owner. Property located at 1411, of course, Islington Avenue. The purpose of this application is to widen the existing driveway from 305 meters to 579 meters due to ongoing maneuvering problems exacerbated to the bus stop by proximity to the corner property. So this is the reason. Wider driveway will be much safer to use, gaining full support of the neighbors. And property owners do not want to build an additional parking space. They just want to enter the property more quickly and safer. So this is the purpose of this application. And from our point of view, so this is the minor variance because the people use this area every day whenever they do turn to the driveway.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes.
Transportation has chimed in as they're okay with this. I do note it is right next to a bus stop. Panel members have any questions?
Yeah, I actually do have a question or a comment. Transportation is okay with it, provided the extra space is not used for parking an extra vehicle. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that, sir.
As stated.
So, okay. So if that's the case, if you're aware of that and you agree to that condition, I'm satisfied this meets the 4 tests and move for approval with no conditions.
Did anyone else have questions? Okay, it's okay. Go ahead. Mr. Gully is seconding.
I'll second, Chair.
All in favor? Okay, approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm wondering if, before we leave that agenda item, I'm wondering if we should put that condition in, the transportation condition, even though it's not really a condition. It's just a comment from transportation, so I'm just wondering if we should add that.
We can't reopen an item, but their recommendation was to approve the application. They didn't
Yes.
have any conditions.
They didn't ask for a condition, I know. It was just a comment they made. Okay, thanks.
Anybody got in touch with the first one yet?
Not yet, Mr. Chair. As soon as we see something new, we'll let you know.
Thank you. So item 4 is 39 15th Street, and this is an application to construct a new triplex dwelling and a new garden suite in the rear yard. There are 3 variances being requested. Planning is recommending refusal of variance 3. Forestry is requesting deferral or alternately condition 2. And I believe that's all we have.
Mr. Chair, we have 2 area residents who are present
Yep.
on the call, and the agent is also present.
Okay. So Vincenzo Abbott, or a bit, sorry if I'm
Good
mistaken.
morning. Yeah, no problem. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you great. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is Vincenzo Abate, owner of 3915 Street in Etobicoke. Before you, an application requesting to construct a new triplex dwelling and a new garden suite in the rear yard. And there are 3 minor variances. The first variance is a minimum required setback on the side yard. We have maintained clearance on all sides except for the north side, which will be 0.6 meters instead of the required 1.2 meters. The new proposed structure will actually be narrower than the existing dwelling and more spacious. Currently on the north side, we have a setback of 0.27 meters and 0.22 meters. The second variance is for the angular plane. We could eliminate this variance by removing out the 12-inch overhang, but I've decided to include the overhang just so the building would be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing to the neighboring properties. The third variance is for the soft landscaping requirement in the rear yard. We have already fulfilled the recommendation made by the community planning. However, we were unable to get a zoning notice in time. This included reducing the sunken yard area of the garden suite units so that the rear yard soft landscape would be at around 50%. And our project aims to enhance the neighborhood by introducing a well-designed building. This development will not only bring architectural beauty, but also provide 4 much-needed rental units in the area. Our commitment is to contribute positively to the community fabric, offering increased housing options and supporting local vitality. We believe our project aligns with the neighborhood's growth and will be a valuable addition to the community.
Thank you, sir. So you're okay with, should the committee approve this, that variance 3 be not included in that approval then?
Yes, we already spoke with community
Yeah,
planning.
it's already been
We weren't able to
resolved.
submit a
Okay,
notice.
thank you.
So you've withdrawn that variance, sir?
Yes, we have.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have on the table variance 1 and 2 only then. Thank you. And we have 2 speakers on the line?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have 2 speakers on the call. I'll go ahead and unmute the first one, Peter.
Thank you. Welcome, sir.
It should be noted Peter joined a bit later, so we did not have a chance to microphone.
Questions. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I just had a few questions about the proposal. Number 1, just a concern around the idea of another triplex on our street, since there are already 4 existing triplexes on a very crowded street. Concerns around parking come to mind, as well as where the property line will in fact begin. Let's start with those 2.
Okay, so what's going to happen is we'll hear from the other speaker, the other neighbor as well, and then Mr. Abedi can respond to both of you. Is there any other concerns or questions you'd like to raise?
The pathway of getting to and from the property, including the garden suite, where would that be located, and where would the garbage be housed?
Okay, we'll get the applicant to address those.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Henderson, is she on as well? Okay.
Can you hello? Can you hear me?
Welcome. Yes, we can.
Thank you. Good morning. I live across the street, and I would agree with
Could you state
Peter
your
about
address, please?
Oh, yes, 42 15th Street. So I face this property. I have a concern with where the garbage cans are going to be, because I don't want to be looking out my front window at a series of garbage cans as the neighbor is doing now at the neighboring triplex. I'm also wondering, about parking. It is becoming a crowded street. We have 4 triplexes in a row there. This would be the 5th. There's also hundreds of townhouses that have been built on Birmingham, so there's going to be a lot of new residents occupying properties there, possibly rentals as well. I'm also wondering is 15th Street going to end up being a street full of triplexes? Because my husband and I are aging. We plan to age in place here. We want to know if the whole street is going to end up being triplexes and garden suites. If I guess possibly the whole city, that might be happening. I was wondering how many garden suites permits have already been approved. Have there been hundreds already? Do we need a variance on a garden suite? The second item requested for a variance. Maybe this lot is not big enough for that, if it needs to have that kind of variance issued. And does the city have some kind of formula for how many triplexes, semis, and detached homes would be on the street? Or is it planned just to have every street maxed out to triplexes and garden suites? I've been here a long time, and I understand the need for change. I want new neighbors. I already have new neighbors on another side of me. It's been changed into rentals. It's nice to have neighbors who are here more than a year. Those 4 triplexes, I don't think I've made any friends in those triplexes in decades. So these are some of my concerns, but mainly the garbage, the parking, and also the lot offset. Is it not possible to have the lot offset respected on the north side? I know you probably don't care about light, but when I look across the street, I'm going to be at home more as the years go by, that will affect me.
Okay, so just in summary, because we can't address every question that you've asked, but if we could focus on that site, your principal concerns, if I can summarize, are the location of the garbage bins and the side yard setback. Is that correct?
Yes, and also the parking. What's going to be happening with parking for these residents?
Okay. Again, we'll ask the applicant to address those issues then.
Okay.
Anything else? Are you good? Thank you.
These are the issues. Maybe I've raised issues that are not relevant to this hearing, but they're relevant to me.
Well, they're relevant issues. They're just issues beyond the scope of what we can deal with.
Yeah, I understand that.
Thank you. Mr. Abedi?
Regarding, hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. Just to raise the concern, firstly, regarding the side yard setback. Like previously stated, our new dwelling will actually have a larger setback of 0.6 meters compared to the existing of around 0.22 meters. In terms of the garbage, we're looking at putting the garbage bins at the back of the house rather than the front. Again, I respect that no one wants to look at garbage. I wouldn't want to be looking at garbage either if I was living across the street. I think another question that was asked was the pathway to the garden suite. It would be a 1.2 meter setback on one portion of the house to walk by to and from. And in terms of parking, again, what's nice there is that Humber College is very close by. I'm assuming a lot of students probably occupy those triplexes that are neighboring, and I'm not sure if all of them have a car, but there is a lot of public transit very close by. If needed, there's always street permit parking for that. Did I address all questions?
I think so. Are there any questions of the panel members have of either the applicant or either of the two speakers?
Yeah, I have a question.
Ms. Alders?
So I'm looking at, excuse me, I'm looking at Street View right now, and I do see the properties in question, the triplexes. Looks like there are 4 of them. Just out of curiosity, this is a question of the applicant, do you own those triplexes, sir? The 4 of them?
No, I do not.
You do not. So it's a different owner.
No.
So
Yes.
Then I have a comment to the woman that actually called in regarding garbage bins in the front. I don't believe that is legally possible. So I think if you report that to your counselor, they may have to put the garbage bins in the back. So I just wanted to get that straight. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. Just briefly, I don't know if there, the applicant, I guess, has addressed parking, saying that most of the occupants would likely be students, but we can't assume that. Is there street parking permits in that area? I thought Etobicoke didn't have them. I don't think there is street parking permitted there. Anyway, just an observation. Any other questions? No? Comments? Ready for a motion?
Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion. The two variances that are before us today, one relates to the side yard setback, the other relates to angular plane. There are only two variances before us, variance 1 and variance 2. Number 3 has been deleted. I think the two variances that are being requested are nominal. They're appropriate. We have reports from planning. We have a transportation report of January the 8th that addresses the issue of parking. And we have a planning justification letter from the applicant, from Mr. Abate. I believe what's being requested is appropriate. I'm going to move approval as subject to urban forestry conditions 2 and 4.
Sorry, 4 is a deferral.
Oh, 2.
And I believe the memo also requests 1 and 2, despite it not being listed in the summary. The forestry memo requests both
Requesting public and private tree. Would you like to
friendly
amend?
amendment is to subject to urban forestry condition
1 and 2.
1 and 2. Okay. All in favor? Okay, approved with the 2 forestry conditions. Thank you. Okay, item 5, and then we'll check in if we have the applicant for item 2. So item 5 is 500 Fenmar Drive.
Mr. Chair, the agent has asked to be on video for this, so I'm going to go ahead and make them a panelist now. Isabella, you are now a panelist, so you are able to turn your video on and off. And I'll go ahead and unmute.
Let me just get the item up on my
Sounds good, Mr.
computer. Sorry, since we're trying to do live and online as well. Hold on. Okay.
Okay, so
sorry, just before, let me just do a brief intro. Sorry, I wanted to find the item on my computer first. So this is 500 Fenmar Drive. This is an application to construct a mixed-use building, and there is one variance with respect to parking. And transportation has chimed in as they are okay. Okay, go ahead.
Am I good to proceed? Okay, thank you. Okay, good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I'm from the applicant's planning consultant team. I'm here to just give a brief description of the proposal and the nature of the variance. So the purpose of the variance application is to redevelop the site for an employment use, that being a food distribution center with an associated ancillary office component. There's an ongoing site plan application that's running in parallel with this, and through that process, this variance was identified through a zoning notice, and that variance being the location of the parking spaces along the side yard abutting Ormont Drive. Due to the configuration of the site, those 46 parking spaces are unable to be located in the rear yard or the side yard that's not abutting a street. So to implement the site plan application and to eventually gain approval for it, it's necessary to gain relief from this variance. And so that was just a brief description. If there's any questions, I can answer.
Thank you. And there is no one else to speak. I'm assuming there's no one in the room to speak to this item. So questions from panel members? Mr. Taylor?
Yes, I'm having difficulty understanding this variance. It says a total of 12 parking spaces is provided for the first 15 meters of the main wall. That means, the way I'm reading it, each parking space is just over a meter wide. I don't think that's doable. And then it says, and thereafter, 6.8 parking spaces for each additional 15 meters. Again, not so drastically, but still problematic the way I'm reading it. Those parking spaces would only be 2 meters wide. Am I misinterpreting what you're proposing here?
Yes, you are.
Could you please tell me why?
So the provision is saying that no more than 5 parking spaces for the first 15 meters of the main wall should be permitted, and thereafter 2 parking spaces for each additional meter of the main wall. So I believe that amounts to only allowing 31 parking spaces in that side yard. However, per our proposal, we are proposing to put 46 parking spaces along that side yard. So that would be the reason for the relief. Yeah.
Just curious as to what our resident transportation expert might have to say about it. He could shed some light on it, I think.
I prefer to make a motion on this, Chair.
We'll leave it at that. Mr. Gully, if you're ready for a motion, please go ahead.
Chair, I am prepared to make a motion on this. There is justification for the request being made. There's only one variance. That one variance relates to parking, and there are no other conditions. Transportation Services have reviewed the application. They have sent in a positive report that they concur with what is being proposed. There are no UFC requests on this application. Move approval with no conditions, and an apology to the panel members for jumping so fast on all the transportation items.
We like it. I'm happy to second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? It's approved unanimously. Okay, Adam, have we found agent for number 2 yet?
Mr. Chair, the agent for number 2 is on the line.
If
We'll
we
do
could
a
go
quick
back
mic
to that
check on
item.
him here right now first. Microphone check for Dan. Dan, go ahead.
Actually late for it, so they called me
Thank
into
you.
the committee.
Okay, one moment.
Now. I'm hoping to present
Hello.
ASAP.
Okay, I'm going to mute. Mr. Chair, he's there, but I'm not sure he's paying attention right this second.
Dan, are you there?
I'll get here and then I can meet you at the restaurant, but I'm going to be late.
Mr. Chair, Dan is definitely not paying attention right now. It sounds
You
like
can't
he's making
invite us to
plans for
lunch.
lunch. So what we should do is let Dan settle in and get himself straightened out. We'll go to item 6, and then we'll
Okay.
go back. Thank you.
I'd like to do a mid-morning break after that, but that's okay. We'll move on to item 6. So item 6 is number 12, 16, 18, and 20 Cordova Avenue. Let me just pull up that item because I thought we were doing 2. Hold on.
As a reminder, Mr. Chair, Dominic Gully has declared a conflict, so he has left the space.
Right.
I'd also like to confirm the area resident is present on the call, and that also the agent would like to be on video for this. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Ryan, I'm going to bump you to a panelist. You're now able to turn your video on by clicking the Start Video button.
Let me just do a brief intro.
Thank you,
This is
Mr.
an application to modify the number of dwelling units, gross floor area, setbacks, building envelope, floor plate area, building height, angular planes, and parking requirements for a site-specific bylaw for this site. There are a total of 8 variances being requested. Planning has recommended refusal and is suggesting that this is not the appropriate process for this application, and that in fact it should be done by way of a zoning bylaw amendment. In the alternative, they have suggested some conditions we should impose should we wish to approve this application. Transportation was originally requesting deferral. They are now okay with it. And I think that's all we have. Just again, noting that planning is recommending that this application be refused, and if the applicant can address that. So who do we have?
Good morning, everyone.
Ryan Doherty?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. And just for the record, my office address is 3 Church Street, Suite 200. And so perhaps we could pull up the presentation package that was submitted, and I'd be happy to take the committee through it.
Mr. Chair, it's on the way. We're just having a bit of a slow presenter's computer. Consider starting.
Okay, perhaps I'll get started while that's being pulled up. So I'll just start with why we're bringing forward this application. By way of background, this site did receive zoning approval in 2021 through an OLT settlement to allow for a building of 24 stories. Since that time, there have been 2 major changes. The first being market conditions have changed drastically since the time of the rezoning stage in the settlement, which was a number of years ago. As I'm sure you're all aware, interest and overall construction costs have gone up, and it's becoming increasingly more difficult to build. The second of which is this project has been converted from a condo to a purpose-built rental. The metrics to make a purpose-built rental project work compared condominium are much different given the increase in upfront costs and the significant time required to make a return on investment. Just in terms of where the applicant is at, they have building permits in process and would be in a position to start building this project relatively quickly. So this is a prime opportunity to deliver much needed housing on this site right now. To address the comments provided by staff, as you mentioned, transportation services are accepting of the proposed parking variance. With respect to community planning, we disagree with staff's position on this application and think that it fails to recognize the evolving context in this area, as well as the city's housing action plan, which aims to improve supply by 285,000 units by 2031. This project has gone through an extensive amount of review through the rezoning application, the OLT process, and the ongoing SPA application. And this minor variance is not intended to be a comprehensive rethinking of the site. We are requesting an 8-meter increase in height, which is about 10%. And so we think a variance is appropriate here. That being said, should the committee approve this application, we would be satisfied with the conditions set out by community planning, including the Section 45(9) contribution of $500,000. I'll note that this amount was much more on a per square meter basis than what was just secured by the 8 to 26 Jopling application. However, my client is nevertheless willing to accept this condition. We could maybe start at the beginning of the presentation to the site and surrounding context. I'll be relatively brief. So the site is within the Etobicoke Center and is within 500 meters of Islington subway station. On the height map, the site is located within a tall building context. There are under construction buildings directly across the street of 20 and 27 stories, flanked by existing buildings of 25 and 28 stories along Islington. And to the south are existing and recently constructed buildings of up to 45 stories. If we could skip ahead, and thanks to staff, to the variance list. So our variances include a density increase of 2,200 square meters, or about 9.3%, an increase of 50 units, or about 15%, a 1-story, 1 meter increase to the height of the podium. This is to allow for the mezzanine story to become a standard floor, and an overall 3-story, 8-meter increase to the height of the tower. We're also proposing to consolidate some of the tower step backs at levels 22 and 23 but providing them at the same overall depth. A technical change to the increase to the permitted floor plate of level 23, allowance for minor projections into the angular plane, and a reduction in vehicle parking. We could skip ahead to the north-south section. So we have a comparison of the as-of-right zoning, which is shown here. And if we could go to the next slide, which is a proposed section showing the as-of-right in blue and the proposed in purple. You can see where the new consolidated step back is provided, as well as the massing on top of the tower. We're still trying to respect that angular plane as much as possible. We could go to the next slide. So to help illustrate, we've prepared a series of views facing the project from the Dundas frontage. These show the consolidated tower step back. Along with that change, we've also removed the continuous balconies off this facade. And together, we think that these changes significantly improve the view and massing of the tower, and also simplifies the tower floor plate to improve constructability. So we can scroll through the next view, which shows facing south and southwest, where we think the height increase is basically imperceptible. And I'll just very quickly speak to sun shadow impacts. If we could go to the last slide, which shows the existing zoning in red, the new shadow impact in yellow.
Just a footnote that you're over time, but we're going to let you keep going because it's a big application.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll be very brief. The increase in height continues to have no shadow impact on any neighborhoods or parks or the adjacent school, which is consistent with the as-of-right zoning, again, which is shown in red. The proposed shadow is in yellow. With respect to Dundas Street West, maybe we could go to the slide just before this. But you can see that the as-of-right massing already shadows both sides of Dundas Street West in the morning hours. The increase in building height will not change that, nor does it change the duration of shadow on these areas. So while there is a little bit more shadowing in terms of the area at these times, it does not extend the duration of shadow. And so I'll leave it there, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from panel members? Okay, we have a speaker on the line, Adam Rogers, area resident.
One moment, Mr. Chair, while I remove Ryan as a panelist. Okay.
Actually, while we're waiting, I do have a question comes to mind, and that's the two conditions that are being imposed. Do either one of those get into the details of like tying it to the presentation, to the elevations? Yeah, no, let's bring the speaker back. Sorry, the agent.
Mr. Chair, I'll bring the speaker back, the agent back.
Sorry, Adam, for the flip-flop, but
it's all good. Ryan, you're unmuted, but I won't bump you over to the screen if that's okay right now.
Okay, so
that's okay. Thank you.
The details of the conditions, I don't believe they tie any of that to your presentation in terms of your elevations, or do they? Or is that part of the site-specific process?
Yeah, you are correct. There's no condition that would specifically tie this approval to the set of drawings. My understanding is the first condition is related to the section 45.9 contribution. And then the second condition is revising some of the language to variance 3 to tie it to metric height as opposed to stories, which would work for us as well.
Okay, and you wouldn't have a problem with us, should we choose to approve this, to add a third condition tying it to your presentation?
I would prefer it be tied to the architectural plans as opposed to the presentation package.
Okay, fair enough, but they reflect the same details. Yes?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, if we can go to the area resident now.
Hello.
Hello and welcome.
Perfect. Do you need me to state my address?
Please.
Okay, my name is Adam Rogers. I live at 9 Michael Power Place, which is about approximately 2 blocks away, and I can see this site from my window as well. So I know the site very well. So I'll get right to this issue. Let's do a history lesson. So let's roll back. This was originally submitted as 27 floors, which it is being resubmitted as. Planning and the community were strongly against this. It was rejected by planning. It was rejected by the committee. The developer brought it to the OLT, which is their right. The city and through the OLT process, there was an agreement made. Agreement was 24. Not, as is with most agreements, not everyone's happy. They wanted 27 floors. The committee probably wanted lower. It was set with 24. That's fine. It's been set. Now, and I'll just speak to this in general, but there's a growing trend with developers where they will come to this committee, which, as has been flagged already, not the appropriate spot to make these changes, and they will, under the guise of minor variances, push to get what they originally pushed through, what was rejected through maybe OLT or planning. They will push that back, which is what they're doing again. Now, I'm not against increased densification. That's fine. Some sites need them, some don't. But this is not the appropriate venue to put this under the guise of a minor variance. Ultimately, as has already been pointed out, this should be done through zoning bylaw review. But if, and I should also add to this fact, is that the history of the whole package should be taken into consideration when the committee makes this decision. And again, I know it seems minor in general. Oh, it's only 3 floors up, but you need to know the whole history of this site and how much the community's been through on this, how much planning has been through. There's a reason why planning is recommending rejection. I mean, most of the time planning is in favor of a small variance. There has to be a reason. And the other reason is, and they're putting the condition of additional funding on this. And obviously the counselor hasn't spoken to this directly, but I did flag this with the counselor and I've spoken to the counselor about it. And they've noted this. And I've also spoken to many other, both to Perks and Bradford, who are the heads of the planning committee. And they've noticed this trend as well. In there, that basically a lot of developers will go through this process, which is not exactly the proper process, to get additional stories and cut down their parking. Now, personally, the parking seems within reason. I'm sure you guys can view all that if that's within reason to cut it down a small bit. But this floor addition, again, it strikes me as a way to get around the process, to get around public consultation in a committee that is far less known by people, as a way to bump up the floors that they originally submitted and was knocked down through our process. Be it good, be it bad, it is the process we have, and we came to an agreement that is sort of in the middle of what everyone wants. Not everyone got exactly what they want, but they got a happy medium. So I think I would urge I mean, I'll let you guys make your final decision. Obviously you will, but I urge you to at least consider, honestly, I would suggest rejecting the whole suite, but if you will, you can consider the parking separately, seeing if that's considered within the realms of the situation. But ultimately, I think this should be rejected. It's not the proper venue. This strikes me as a way to get around. And it's funny enough, they bring up Joplin. I was on the call for Joplin as well, and it was mentioned during that call, same issue. This is not the proper venue to be going for these changes. Ultimately, I do know it was raised in favor, but it did go through. It had to go back to planning, and there were some discussions, if I remember correctly. It's been since last year, so but it is funny they bring that up, because I do remember that I was on that call as well for this and objecting it for the same reason, this is not the proper venue for it. So I will mute myself unless there's any questions for me. I imagine there aren't. I'm sure it'll go to committee. So
we do have some questions, sir. Mr. Sargison?
Yeah. Sure. Does it matter to you at all that the initial application was for a condo development and it's now for a rental building?
I mean, obviously I'm in favor of additional rentals, but the difference in floor height is not going to affect that I can see it being a rental or not. I mean, more rentals in this area is great. I'm glad to hear they're doing it, but I find it that it is a good way to justify going not the correct process, just saying, well, we're doing a rental now, so now we can add this because like we're changing it up. But again, I'm not as privy to those as others might be.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, sir. If we go
Thank
back,
you.
Thanks. Go back to the applicant for a rebuttal.
Ryan, I've made you a panelist again, so if you'd like to turn your video back on, you are more than welcome to. And I'll go ahead and unmute you now too.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm happy to speak to that. So thank you, Mr. Rogers, for your comments and questions. I'll try to do my couple things that have changed since the time of the initial application at the rezoning stage, which was back in, I believe, 2018. First of which, we've already talked about this a little bit, the project being changed from condominium to rental. There are different considerations for a rental project. There's a lot more upfront cost to build because you don't sell the units and you can't cash out, so to speak. So it takes a longer time to sort of make that investment back. So there's more risk involved and it's typically more difficult and costly to do. The second of which is there has been a change in context here, where, you know, at the time, 24 stories, there was a couple other projects in the area that were pushing similar heights. But now there are existing and approved projects of up to 49 stories around Islington subway station, including a Create TO application at the station of up to 55 stories. So we think that there has been a change in context here, and at 27 stories, we still fall within that downward transition away from the station. We're not pushing heights that are taller than what's been approved or proposed around the station. And just in terms of how variances are evaluated and, you know, precedent, and I'll speak to this a little bit more in a moment, each site is different, and we think that we should be evaluating variances on the basis of their impact, which in this case we think is very minimal, rather than just on a numerical basis. In terms of a more of a policy context, this site is within the Etobicoke Center. It is designated mixed-use areas in the official plan. It's close to Islington subway station, and there are multiple layers of provincial and municipal policy which encourage intensification here. I do take your point about process. However, I would argue in response that we are in a significant housing crisis in this city. We need to find creative and practical solutions to deliver housing in locations that make sense and can balance competing objectives. We think that this is a prime opportunity to do that. We also think that the addition of 3 stories, again, 8 meters, is a 10% increase in height. I would argue that that is minor, considering a rezoning application would contemplate much greater heights and densities on any site. And would also be used to determine several other considerations, whether it be parkland dedication, POPs, amenity space, bike parking, the overall functionality of the site. These variances aren't seeking to reinvent the proposal or alter other performance standards, which would impact the units already approved through this rezoning. And finally, I'll just add one additional thing. I think there was a comment in Mr. Rogers about additional bike parking. We're not seeking a variance for bike parking on this project, so the increase in units would be accommodated by an increase in bike parking on this site as well. So I'll leave it there, and I'm happy to answer any additional questions that the committee might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Panel members, any questions for the applicant? Laura?
Just for clarification, on the other side of the school, there are a couple of tall buildings. Do you happen to know the heights of those?
Not off by hand, but they would be shown on the height map, which perhaps we can pull up, or I can pull it up on my screen here.
No, we'll look to bring it up
To
for
the
you.
south of this. Okay, wonderful. On the
Just on the other,
west side of the school.
just on the other side of the school from the site. I'm not sure if I'm looking.
Yeah, on the
So I'm not sure if I'm looking south or not.
on the west side of the school is a 22-story slab building, and south of the school are existing 34 and 36-story buildings on the north side of Mabel. South of Mabel are existing 30, 35, 45, 44-story buildings and an approved 49-story building.
I'm actually looking at Cordova. So.
Oh, those are under construction 20 and 27-story buildings by Tridel.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No? Comments? I guess we'll take it into committee then. So just coming back to transportation is okay on the reduction of parking spots. Planning is essentially saying wrong process, refuse. Alternately, some conditions. I've suggested a possible third condition if people feel more comfortable with that rather than just doing a blank approval. Personally, I think it's the wrong process, but that's just my opinion. If I can get anyone else's input into this. I mean, this is a fairly large project, and in this venue, we don't get a lot of time, and we don't afford the community a lot of time. And that's my concern with going through these kind of applications at this venue. So I would welcome some discussion on this item before we vote.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would agree with you. I agree with you and the City Community Planning Department and the gentleman that spoke a few minutes ago that this is the wrong process. I can see merit given changing market conditions and other things that were referenced by the agent that it may well be a desirable proposal, but I think it's important to put it through the proper process. Especially given the history of this application. The city refused 27 stories not too long ago. OLT approved 24. As the gentleman that called in, he was quite accepting. I would assume he's probably representative of other people in that community that 24 is good. So I think, again, the desired project here may well be reasonable and appropriate, but I think it needs to be determined in a much more comprehensive zoning bylaw amendment process, not minor variances through the Committee of Adjustment.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Anyone else? Okay. Again, I think there's no reluctance around the parking provisions. I think it's the others that are raising flags. So just I note that before.
I'm really torn because it is gone from being a condo project to a purpose-built rental project. I'm torn about this one. I don't think, I think if they went through a rezoning application, they would probably get this height.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that they would get this height. And if that's really the only thing that the community is concerned about, then perhaps we should just expedite the process and approve it today with the conditions that community planning has laid out. I haven't made that motion yet, but I'm just putting it out for discussion.
Yeah, fair enough. I think not knowing that it was being changed from condo to rental sort of changed my what I thought was going to be my decision going into this. So, fair comment.
He did say it's ready. There's they're ready to go to build. Is that not what he said?
Yes.
That they could build this beginning hopefully tomorrow.
We have no comments from local councillor or anyone else from the community. So just to note that as well. But the process is an issue, and it's kind of become it's become almost a norm for these kind of applications to come before this committee, and I don't think it's an appropriate venue.
I'm sympathetic to the concerns raised by the applicants about the cost and the concerns, but I'm also uncomfortable that this is not the appropriate venue to achieve what they're trying to achieve, and I wouldn't be comfortable approving this application.
How long does a rezoning application take from start to finish? Maybe I'm asking staff that question. It's a long time, right?
I really have no concept of that right now.
I don't either, but it's not a week, that's for sure. Yeah, Torin. Does someone want to make a motion about something?
Well, yeah, I will, and I think it's important, notwithstanding the reason for our reluctance to move ahead on this as a minor variance, we have to frame our decision around the 4 tests. So in my mind, as we all know, we must be satisfied, 100% unequivocally satisfied, that the variances requested are minor. I would say from my perspective, I'm not sure. The proposal is desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land and/or building. Perhaps, but I'm not sure. General intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw are maintained. I don't believe so. I think given the OLT's decision on this not too long ago, and again, notwithstanding the great arguments about changing market conditions, we still need to go through a proper process for this. General intent and purpose of the official plan, yeah, probably. I've got no qualms about that. But bottom line, I'm not satisfied that this application meets the 4 tests, and as we've been discussing, I think a zoning bylaw amendment is the appropriate process. So my motion would be refusal.
I'd second that.
All in favor? I'm going to vote. Opposed? Okay, the application is refused. Thank you. Maybe we can get Mr. Gully back.
That one was right on the line, eh? Right on the line.
Mr. Chair, do you want to jump to number 2, or do you want to take this opportunity to take a break?
Let's, if we have the applicant for number 2, let's do that and then do a break. Or maybe
we do a break, Mr.
Maybe we
Chair.
do a break. Okay, 10-minute break.
10 minutes. So we'll come back at 11 o'clock, bang on.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members can take this opportunity to turn off their screens if they'd like, their cameras. everyone will get ready to start heading back here and get started shortly.
Unless he wants it deferred. Number 2.
So we're going to proceed.
Well, yeah, except the problem is I had questions for him, which I don't know how we can't ask those questions now.
He's still on this moment too, though, so that's good.
Okay, let's do it then.
All right, well, once everyone's seated, camera on, Mr. Chair.
Oh, hold on. All right. Okay, are we back on?
All right, Mr. Chair. I think everyone's here except for the Secretary, Deputy Secretary Treasurer, so.
We'll wing it.
Deal. We do have the senior planner here if push comes to shove, so.
Okay. All right, welcome back, everyone. I believe we're back to item number 2. We have the applicant online now. Okay, this is a application to construct, nope, no, it's not. Yeah, the application is to construct a new, the purpose of the application, I believe, is incorrect. The purpose of the application is stated as to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage, which has already been done, but the variance is for the widening of a driveway. So perhaps we can get the applicant to explain why we have a, it's 101 Prenan Avenue?
Correct, Mr. Chair, that's number 2.
Brennan Avenue, correct.
Okay, so can you explain what's going on here? This is,
Good morning, Mr. Chair. My name is Dana Ching.
Good morning.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good morning. My name is Dana Chimovich. I'm the applicant for this file. I'm not quite sure why the file states to build, the house has been built a long time ago. The garage has been built. The application is simply for the driveway widening.
Sorry, Dan, are you the owner or the applicant or both?
I'm the agent.
You're the agent. Okay, so can we get your address?
Not the owner.
Can we get your address then?
1185 Queensway East in Mississauga.
Thank you. So we got a problem with the notice then? So
we can fix that for the minutes and the decision.
okay. So Dan, this is an application to widen a driveway, is that correct? Not to construct.
That's correct. You're correct. Yeah. Basically, what's transpired here is the owner built the home, and he tried to close the permit to get his deposits upon final inspection by the city. They noted the fact that he added decorative pavers on each side of the asphalt, and they measured the driveway at 6.3 meters, where 6 meters is what was allowable. And here we are asking for allowance to leave the pavers on the two sides. So there's 8-inch pavers added to each side of asphalt.
So are you stating that it's the pavers that are putting this into the variance?
Correct.
So
the overall driveway width is now 6.3. Yeah.
So the paved area only is less than 6 meters?
Correct.
Okay. And then.
So we're asking for an extra foot.
Okay. And how far are you from the hydro pole?
I'm not aware of the distance from the hydro pole, but basically they followed the existing curb cut for the location of the new driveway.
Okay, again,
So
but you
we
did that
didn't-
but the pavers project beyond the existing curb cut.
So does the asphalt
They do on the one side. They do on
do
the
on
one
both.
side, correct.
on both.
On both
both,
sides.
okay, yep.
Let's pull a photo up of it. I think that happens on both sides.
Also, the notice should read to legalize and maintain. This driveway has already been built, so it's not about constructing it, it's already been built. And it extends beyond
is
both,
correct.
it extends beyond both curb cuts.
And just a note to the applicant, it would have been helpful, the forestry requirements are for up-to-date tree photos. So you perhaps would have had a better view of the driveway. There is one photo in the file that does show the driveway for the most part is the full 6.5 meters.
6.3, I believe.
Okay.
The pavers are very narrow. If we can pull up that photo, it's the.
Mr. Chair, members, we are in the process of trying to bring up the photo that we have on file. Just getting a bit of
But
lag.
why did you not submit accurate tree photos? Because that's showing the old house. You should have submitted new photos for that.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. This was submitted quite a while ago, and again, we understood it to be a very sort of simple application, and we didn't get into too many details. As you can see, it's already been built, and the applicant really didn't intend any ill towards the city or the neighborhood. He simply put decorative pavers on the sides of asphalt for aesthetic reasons. There was, no intent in any other way to.
If you look at the photo, the asphalt extends beyond the curb cut. It's not just the pavers on both sides, not just on one side. So, like, this is, you're coming with the wrong description. You're misrepresenting what's actually there. Yet you've got a photo of it. Okay. Transportation is asking for a condition that the edge of the driveway be more than 1 meter from the hydro pole, yet you don't know the distance. So you didn't read the comments that transportation was given to you.
I'm looking at Google Street View right now from May 2021. And it's hard to ascertain what's going on here because this was prior to the asphalt.
Asphalt, it was just dug out at that point, yeah. So you can't go by
But
that.
in the photograph that they've submitted in the application, it's deliberately not shown. The hydro pole is deliberately not shown. The tree is shown.
No, it's there. It's there. The hydro pole's right in front of the tree. It's in that photo. It just blends in.
Oh. Okay.
Checking right now.
I see it.
Yeah.
Yep. I see it. It looked like it was part of the tree.
It looks like it's part of the tree, yeah. It was a tree at one time.
It was a tree at one time.
I'm trying urgently to get you a number right now. Just a moment, please. I'm trying to get that distance measured in AutoCAD.
Well, because if we impose that as a condition, you're going to be pulling out pavers to meet the condition. But anyway, it's...
I mean, I think the owner is okay with that. It's it is a condition by transportation, and we understand that the safety element to that. If that is what has to be done, then he might have to pull some pavers off of that side.
Okay, so again, what is the width of the asphalt paved area? Are you stating that it is less than, like, is there a site plan that goes with this?
Yeah, that was submitted. Unfortunately, I'm not able to pull it up right now, but Paul, are you able to look at our site plan with the dimensions? We clearly labeled the widths of asphalt as well as paved areas.
Mr. Chair, we'll put the site plan up on screen now.
You can pull it
I'm
up,
looking at the site plan, Mr. Chair, and it it shows the driveway width of 6.5 meters, but that includes the pavers. And the pavers on either side are only 0.2 of a meter. So
it doesn't add up.
no.
And why doesn't transportation have a problem with the curb cuts, the asphalt extending beyond the curb cuts? Why has transportation not mentioned that? Can I ask my transportation guru to weigh in on that?
I believe, though, there's some issue with respect to the dimensions themselves, because transportation services speak to the fact that on the site plan, they see a dimension of 6.3, whereas the applicant is asking for a width of 6.5. So my question is, the asphalt itself, without the pavers, what is the width of the asphalt driveway, then the pavers, and then the distance from the edge of pavers to the hydro pole? But specifically, Transportation Services is concurring with 6.3. They're saying 6.3 is what's on the site plan, and we're okay with that, subject to the pavers not being within the 1 meter from the hydro pole. So those are the specific questions that we need specific answers.
Actually, there is a condition. So they're asking them to submit a revised site plan that illustrates that the widened driveway width does not extend within 1 meter of the existing hydro pole. I still don't understand why there's paving beyond the curb cuts that no one's talking about.
Anyway, we also have a area resident on the line for this item, so is there anything, just going to go back to the applicant, is there anything else you want to clarify on this application before we go to the neighbor?
No, it's okay. Let's hear out the neighbor, and then I can potentially give you some of the clarifications that you're looking for.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and unmute William. William has asked to be on screen, though, for his presentation. So, William, I'm going to go ahead and make you a panelist now. You'll be enabled now to turn on your video by clicking the Start Video button, and I'll go ahead and unmute you. You are unmuted.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to hear me. I think you might find that part of the reason why there aren't other neighbors on this is because the application was misleading. And I would really like to know how the original width was changed from 3.2 to 6.3, because the history of this property is such that there was an original application. The house started to get built. They did a foundation, then nothing was done for a year. The hole started crumbling, taking down my fence and part of my patio. And then mysteriously, without any further consultation, there was a new building permit issued, and the original building permit just disappeared. So there have been a lot of mysteries here and a lot of misrepresentations to neighbors over the years, just like the misrepresentations that are being made to you right now. The hydro pole is less than 2 feet from the driveway, and the tree is well within the range that they're not supposed to be building a tree. In fact, it's well within the tree protection zone. And the way this was done, actually, they were refused by a number of contractors to widen the driveway the way they wanted to do it because it didn't comply with the rules. They fired 2 people and another one resigned. When this happened, it was in June. This was before they made any applications to the city. And there was a fly-by-night guy from Hamilton going around the neighborhood who had done a driveway and claimed he had some extra materials and was willing to do a job on the cheap. He went to every door on the street, and Vlad took him up on it. So they not only widened the driveway, they raised the driveway, and it is well beyond the cuts on both sides. It goes right to the property line on the north side. It's just been one thing after another. And when those contractors came, they were advised what had happened. They were advised what the situation was, that the other contractors had refused to do what he wanted to do. Vlad and his wife Valentina came, and they were also reminded that they weren't permitted to do what they were about to do, and they did, regardless. So we did advise the city. We advised both bylaw and building department, but there was no follow-up. There was with the bylaw people. They said because there was still an open permit, it was a building department issue. That was the response we had from them. And this building permit's been open. This is the second one, and it's been open for I think 4 or 5 years, and it still hasn't been closed. And it's not just because of this driveway. There are a lot of issues with the grading. There are issues with illegal stairs on the side of the building. There are a lot of issues here. But the other issue we're already finding now with this wide driveway is we have just a tiny bit of snow, and the snow's ending up not only on my property, but in my driveway and on the street, because the driveway is just too wide to shovel the snow, even with a very small amount. So we have a whole host of issues here. So what I would like to see, and a lot of the other neighbors here would like to see, is that this be properly reviewed, that the neighbors get properly consulted with accurate documents and given adequate time. The sign went up about a week or less before the deadline to get responses in. And I'm not sure why forestry hasn't looked at this, because like I said, when the driveway was put in, the contractor just came in and did it, within a couple of hours. There was no prior consultation. Forestry, there was no application to forestry for a tree protection. And like I said, it's like, the tree's about at least 30 inches, between 30 and 36 inches. And it's well within the tree protection zone. So I would say, probably a meter at least of the driveways in the tree protection zone. So I'm definitely going to be following up with them if they have no comment or participation thus far. So at the very least, I think things need to get clarified here. It should just be rejected, and the owner should have to come to this committee with a compliant property. This has become all too common in the city now, where people just do whatever they want and expect that they'll just get away with it. And this neighborhood is replete with these kind of things. There's a lot of houses being redeveloped here, and it's discouraging. And the other neighbors are getting cynical as well, because so much has gone on with 101 that it's just been one disaster after another for all of us. And at the very least, all we're asking is that the owner be required to comply with the rules.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sure.
Okay, we need to come back to the agent, but I'm not really sure what he's going to say now. So, Dan, are you back?
I am, yes. I've been listening to the entire conversation, and I'm obviously just the agent. I'm not really privy to what's transpired about the issues that this is causing. We were simply asked to come in and ask for a minor variance for an extra foot of driveway width.
Okay.
I did not get involved with forestry, transportation, distances. If we're too close to the pole, then, he'll have to comply to transportation. But other than that, really, this was supposed to be a very simple application, and there was no real intent on anyone's part to, cause any damage to anyone else's property. So, that's all I can say about this.
Okay, well, forestry actually has chimed in. They're requesting condition 1, which is a application to protect the city-owned tree as a condition of approval. But given that this is an after-the-fact application, it's already after the fact. I guess I have issues with what I feel is a misrepresentation here in terms of what the actual width is and how it relates to the curbs. And question whether we have a notice issue as well, but that's, I'm going to leave that open to the members to discuss. Any questions of the applicant?
No, but I agree with you. I think we do have a notice issue, and I do believe that the applicant has, through the agent, has misrepresented himself. So I'm prepared to make a motion for refusal of this application on that basis.
I'm prepared to second.
Deferral should have been done up front.
Sorry, yeah, we've heard all the evidence. I mean,
I think these issues were uncovered during the presentation. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it was on the face of it. So normally that would have been ideal, but I think as the presentation went on, more and more concerns were raised with respect to these
so you're
issues.
seconding the motion to refuse?
Yes, I am.
All in favor? Okay, opposed? The refusal passes. The application is refused. Okay. Trying to figure out where we're at now.
Mr. Chair, we are on item number seven.
Seven,
And
okay.
actually, all the people that are interested in speaking in this file are present in the chambers.
Perfect. So number 7, 46 10th Street. Let me just find it in my files now. Okay, so this is an application to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling and to legalize and maintain a detached garage in the rear yard currently under construction. And there are 6 variances pertaining to this application, which involves the house and the garage. We have forestry requesting condition number 2. We have an objection petition with 11 signatures. We have an objection letter from the property owner to the rear. In the additional material, we have applicants' rebuttal to the objections and a support letter from number 44 10th Street. And the speakers, where are we, number 7? Okay, is the agent, is the agent in person or online? Okay, thank you. Can you state your name and address, please?
I'm Martin Rendell.
Mr. Chair, before we go further, the button, thank you.
I remembered. My name is Martin Rendell, sir. My address is 35 Delburn Drive, Toronto, M1V as in Victor, 1 Adam 8. And I'm representing the owner today, Ron Wong, who is also here.
Okay, welcome.
You've described the proposal. It's basically 2 sets of variances to add a second story to the existing 1-story house, and then variances for the detached garage in the rear yard. You have my letter, which I've summarized the variances, and I'll speak principally to the objections. I would note before that city planning did not provide any recommendations one way or other. In my experience, that indicates they have no issues with the variances or the application. You also have two adjacent neighbors who are, in my view, closest and most affected to the property, who are in support of the application.
So I have number 44 in support. Is there another one?
Yeah, 48 as well. There's 4 sets of signatures on that letter.
Okay.
It's both, sir. First of all, the petition from the residents on 11th Street, they are urging you to refuse it, but they provide no reasons as to why they're objecting. and 3/4 of those that signed the petition are on the west side of 11th Street. They don't abut the property. I'll leave that with you. The principal objections come in the letter from Andy and Denise Makareth at 56 11th Street, which is directly behind the garage. And I've indicated on the second page of my letter my responses to their objections, and I'll quickly run through those in my time. The objection in the garage is too high, it's out of scale, it's going to cast shadows, obstruct airflow. The garage itself complies with the minimum setbacks from the lot lines. The variances are for the projection of the eaves to the property line. And here, I'll get to these in a minute, but simply with respect to the height, the height for an auxiliary structure is 4 meters maximum. This is 4.45. The roof slopes towards the house. The low end of the roof is at the rear of the lot line, closest to the objector, and complies with the maximum height. In terms of the eaves trough, the space is left to install eaves on the west side of the garage adjacent to the objector, so that would collect the rainwater and deal with those issues. The photograph that the objectors provided in their letter show that at 44, the property to the south, there also is a double garage existing that has a higher height than is proposed here, so that condition exists. The objectors are raising the issue of there's a coverage variance for the lot itself. It's 15.23% versus 10% maximum. And they're raising the issue about the amount of green space. There is no variance for landscaping on this property, and the 15.23% lot coverage is less than, for example, if you compare it to an as-of-right garden suite, which would be 20% of the lot area, which could be constructed in the same place, simply comparing the massing and the coverage. And total lot coverage is not regulated here. The objectors make the statement that a garage is beyond the reasonable expectation for residential enjoyment. Detached garages are common in residential neighborhoods. They're not an unusual structure. And in fact, there's a 2-car garage, as I stated, at number 44. And then lastly, they raise an issue that future owners would use the garage for some other unstated purpose. Any property, any garage has to comply with the zoning bylaw. So if there were some rogue future owner trying to do something with the garage that violated the bylaw, that would be dealt with by the city. In closing, in my opinion, as a planner, this application does meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act. In terms of the official plan, it meets the criteria 415 of the neighborhood's policies. In my view, it respects and reinforces the existing physical character of the area. The variances do maintain, in my opinion, the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. They're desirable for the property. It increases the amount of housing, the floor area for the present times. And again, the 2 adjacent neighbors, north and south, support the application. And lastly, with respect to being minor, this is a test of adverse impact being created by the variance. In my opinion, there is no adverse impact created. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from members before we go to the other deputies? Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
So we have two speakers, because I have a number of speakers listed, but only 2. Adam, what have you got?
Well, Mr. Chair, we can call on the area residents for 67 11th first. Maybe Dennis, 65, I mean to say, yeah. Either Dennis or Norman.
Okay.
And we can see what they have to say. Oh, my mistake, Denise.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman and
Welcome.
committee. I'm Andy Mackrath. I live at 65 11th Street as opposed to 56 it says on the note here. Basically, I'll just go through the areas that have been just brought up. His response was that the garage complies to the setback on all lot lines, which is untrue. The garage has been already constructed with a roof, doors and such. It does meet right to the property lines on the south and on the west side, which is my side. They insinuate there, they say that the rear garage height is 3.6 meters, which is below the 4 meters. It's a shed garage. The existing garage, which I'm assuming was knocked down without a permit, had a peaked roof, which we would see simply a peak. In the one on 44 10th Street also is a peaked roof, so that the lower part of the eaves is well below the 3.6 meters. Basically, we have a billboard in the backyard. I don't know if he's talking about shadows and airflow. I have no studies on that. I just know that you put up a big square building, it's going to affect sun on all sides. It's going to affect airflow on all sides. He's comparing it to garden suites. Well, we're not applying for a garden suite. We're applying for a garage, so anything to do with a garden suite should be ignored. The way it's set up right now, I hope they do put a trough on the back of the garage, because at this point, it basically goes over the roof line. It blocks out our garden at the back of our yard, which will, I'm sure, not take too well to that, as well as the fact that the snow and rain will end up in our backyard. A minor variance, I don't know what minor and major is, but this is 50% larger, this is higher, this is two sides too close to the property line, so like I say, I don't know what minor and major is. Yes, there's many garages in the backyards. Yes, he had a garage in his backyard. The one they're comparing it to on 44 10th Street, it actually has been added on to sometime in the past. I have no idea when. It's been there for many years. Possibly it was done without building permits. I have no idea. Maybe it's not even on the survey. But yes, the peak of the roof, which is a single point, is higher than the 4 meters, I would assume. But that said, doesn't mean that someone going beyond that. They also bring up the point that a number of the neighbors are on the other side of 11th Street. The neighbors on the other side of 11th Street have seen our backyard and have seen what's there, and they're concerned that we're setting a new precedent in this neighborhood for garages that are oversized, over height. I have no objection to his home going up. We have many precedents in the neighborhood where second floors have gone on. It's great for the neighborhood. It's great for property values. So there's only two regarding the home, and I have no objection to that. Obviously, 44 and 48 are as long-term neighbors as I'm a long-term neighbor as well. I know they have no objection because they've always been good neighbors. So I have no future use. I mean, it's a garage, and that's what we're looking at, not the future use of the home. So in closing, that's about all I can say. I just think it's well beyond we're setting a precedent that is well beyond anything in our neighborhood. And the minute you allow this, if the neighbor next to him decides to build something similar, we won't even be able to see the homes on the back of 10th Street with virtually a 14-foot wall behind us. We have a 5-foot fence right now. This projects, even the back of it projects 7 feet above our fence line, and then when you bring in the roof, it's another few feet. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just before you go,
Sure.
anyone have any questions?
No problem.
I just have a comment. I mean, I agree that
Sure.
comparing to a garden suite is not relevant here because the garden suite is under a whole separate set of rules, and there's
Right.
different reasons for that. So,
Yeah, I agree. Thanks.
okay, thank you. We have another deputant. Please come up, sir.
My name's Bob Clark. I'm one of the people on the west side of 11th Street. And my opposition...
Sorry, can we get your address as well?
Pardon?
Can we get your address?
62 11th Street.
Thank you.
My opposition is to this precedent, where I've had another incidents in the past where someone didn't follow the bylaws, and now it has set a precedent. I would just like to see people apply and go through the process before they build something, a structure like this. And even though I am on the west side of 11th Street, I oppose the precedent. The agent mentioned that, maybe down the road someone might change the use of this garage, and at that point, then the bylaw, people would become involved. But I don't understand why the bylaw people aren't involved now when the bylaws aren't being followed. Anyway, that's all.
I think they are involved. There was an order to comply, and I think that's how we wound up here.
Okay, sorry. I don't really understand the whole process, but I would just oppose it based on the precedent.
Thank you. No questions? If we can get the applicant agent back for rebuttal, please.
Mr. Chair, before we do, can we
Is there
confirm
anyone
that?
else?
Yeah, Melanie
Sorry.
doesn't want to speak. Thank you.
Thanks. That's why I wanted to leave that alone. Okay, welcome back.
Okay, very briefly, the first speaker, the neighbor, I heard him say he's accepting that the eaves will be there, so that gets to, I think, a lot of their concerns about drainage and runoff, et cetera. He's not opposing the eaves being on the garage. I understand the risk of referring to the garden suites. I was simply using that, sir, as a comparison in terms of the massing of a structure, the height, the lot coverage. I'm not proposing a garden suite here. But
No,
I'll leave it at that.
I understand.
I heard some objections to that. Lastly, both of the residents have raised the issue of this being a precedent. It isn't that way, sir, as I think the committee knows that every application is evaluated on their merits. These are not precedents in a legal sense of being binding on anyone down the road. You were correct. There is an order on the garage in terms of having been constructed, so it's in place now. And in my experience with variances that are after the fact variances, the principle is that you evaluate the variance, that if it isn't there, I'll leave it at that, sir. If there's any other clarifications I can provide, I'd be happy to.
Any questions from the panel?
Sure, I have one question. Subsequent to the August 18th order to comply, do you know whether or not Toronto Building was on site to inspect following that?
I'm going to have to turn to the owner. I wasn't involved at that time. After the order.
After the order. They did visit the site? And at that point, on August 18th, what percentage of the structure was up? As we see it now? Thank you.
At the time of the stop work order, there was no garage doors and no roof on it. Right after that fact, the roof went on, the garage doors went on, some of the outside work was completed. Just another note, the notice that was supposed to be posted in the front window, when I walked down the street last week, was not on the phone. We called in and noticed that the day after it was posted. Notice of this meeting, the notice of the application for community development was not in the front window until after we called in saying that it wasn't there. So I don't know if they were just trying to let the neighborhood know what was going on. But I think there's just a few things that have slipped through. Being an architect, I think that those in the city of Toronto, I think Ron would be aware of that. We need a demolition permit, building permit, heat code.
Okay, but unfortunately, we can't deal with the past history. We can only deal with what's before us now in terms of the variances, but context always helps. Thank you. Any other questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so it sounds like the majority of the concerns, I think all of the concerns have to do with the garage, not with any of the variances related to the house. Thank you. And so our job is to decide whether those are meeting the 4 tests or not. And I'll leave it to the committee for some discussion. We weren't really given any evidence to show precedence for this size of garage, like comparisons in the neighborhood. I guess that's the question we could have asked. We still could go back if that's something the panel wishes, if we want to come out of committee for that.
Well, Mr. Chair, on that very point, I'm looking at the location map and I'm seeing probably a half a dozen garages of this size, or in some cases even larger than what's proposed on number 46. So I would generally say it's roughly in keeping with other detached garages in this block, the west side of 10th Street and the east side of 11th. So I'm satisfied that the variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I would move approval subject to Urban Forestry Condition 2.
Is there a seconder?
Sure, I'd like to speak and second that motion, actually. I do understand the concerns of the residents, having to see now a structure that appears to be fairly large when it wasn't there before. I think variances 4, 5, and 6, not I think, I know variances 4, 5, and 6 relate to the ancillary structure of the garage. 4 and 5 are really nominal, and what's before us really is the aspect of the lot coverage.
Yeah.
And from 10 to 15%, I had difficulty trying to find a justification for not allowing it, but the consultant has supplied us with a very detailed planning consultant report, which convinced me that in this area, and knowing the area really well for the last 45 years, I believe that what is being proposed here does fit into the community. So I'm going to second that motion, Chair, with the condition for urban forestry.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 3-2. It's approved.
Sorry, who else was opposed? You? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So item 8 is 99 Lake Promenade. And I'll just take a minute to find my files.
While you look, Mr. Chair, I want to bring to your attention the area resident 105 Lake Promenade is not present on the call. Everyone else is. It should be noted we also did reach out to them via email and phone to try and get a hold of them, but no answer.
Okay, is the applicant present?
Yes, Mr. Chair, they're virtual.
Okay. So there's several deputants, so are others present, or?
Well, I do have one noted here as being present, Sahil Jaggi, but they're also they're on the WebEx virtually. So,
okay. Do we know if Andy Choles is online, or?
Andy Choles is present on the call. Yes.
Okay, and Zing Chow?
That is the area resident not present on the call.
Okay. Okay. Let's proceed then. So this is an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 5 variances being sought. Forestry is requesting conditions 2, and 3. And we have a support petition with 4 signatures, or 4 plus. And the the owner is also the applicant. Catherine?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I'll go ahead and mute them now.
Thank you.
Morning.
Morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Shall I proceed?
Yes, please.
Oh, no, someone's at my door. Sorry. I can't believe the timing. It could be as someone who supports the application.
Okay.
Shall I proceed?
Do you have to go to the
Sorry,
door? Do you want us to
that's not-
hold for 2 minutes, or?
No, I think you're far more important.
Okay, thank you. Please proceed.
I don't want to take up too much of your. Oh dear, I'm sorry. I think they're insistent. I'm sorry. Yes. Yes. You know what? I'm on the committee.
Mr. Chair, would you like to stand the item down then for a moment, or?
I'm hoping she'll be right back.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, no worries. Hope that hasn't frazzled you enough to do your presentation, but please proceed if you're ready to go.
Thanks for considering that. So good morning again, and my name is Catherine Cottress, and I'm the owner of 99 Lake Promenade. As mentioned in my cover letter, I have owned my home for over 14 years. The redevelopment design has been done with the greatest respect for the unique lakeside community that I've been very fortunate to be part of. I have exercised full transparency in this endeavor by ensuring permits and regulatory approvals were adhered to. Pardon?
Sorry, I wasn't referring
Can
to
you hear me all right?
Yes, all good, thank you.
Oh. Can you hear me all right, though?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay. So I have, as I mentioned, I've exercised full transparency in this endeavor by ensuring permits and regulatory approvals were adhered to, including forestry and TRCA. So the size respects the zoning bylaws in terms of height, length, width, and all setbacks, while the design is similar to the existing Cape Cod waterfront home in keeping with the neighborhood character guidelines. So the new house is in effect an as-of-right build because it is 0.35 of the entire lot. And I guess what I would like to stress is the bounty of this incredible location is the yard and lots of green space. The neighbor's privacy has been respected with generous side yard setbacks. There's only one side window, and it's located on the west that faces the wall of 105 Lake Promenade. And they had indicated that they were very pleased that I did not have windows overlooking each of their side windows. Most importantly, though, too, it is a net zero emissions build, which is a vital component of Canada's emissions reduction strategy. Only unhealthy trees are being removed, and they will be replaced by several native trees planted throughout the property. So the variances requested are minor, and there have been no objections from planning, other regulatory bodies, or neighbors. Although several neighbors have expressed sadness that the charming Cape Cod home will no longer be here, while many others are relieved and pleased that an appropriate home will be built in its place. And to this end, it does meet the 4 tests and the Planning Act. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from panel members? If not, I believe we have a deputant in person for this item.
So, Mr. Chair, that's the one I noted. They are not present here at this time. They are on the call, though, and are participating virtually.
Okay, Mr. Jaggi, is that who's next?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, hi. Thank you, committee, for having me on this platform to speak today. I've looked at the plans. I got this notice in the mail. We looked at the minor variances. I think this plan is great. I have no issues, no objection with this plan. Although it would have been nice to have it consulted, but given the fact that it's quite modest in terms of its minor variance, I have no objection with this, and I wish the applicant all the best to move forward. Now, I do consider the fact that there's a decent amount of canopy being removed in the premises, so I'm assuming that the Committee of Adjustments will have the conditions of Parks and Forestry and TRCA. We have very competent people working in the conservation and making sure that they will also have make sure that all the regulatory all the requirements are being met. So given the modest amount of minor variances and a decent side yard setbacks and how it doesn't negatively affect my personal property, which is where I'm building my current home, I have no objection and I support this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Andy Choles on the line?
He is, Mr. Chair. One moment. Andy, go ahead.
Good day, Mr. Chair.
Good morning.
Members of the panel. My name's Andy Choles, board member of the LBNA. I live at 12 Jasmine Avenue, a couple of blocks north of Lake Prom. The LBNA appreciates the transparency of this application and its aspirational nature. We would request that the application be judged on its merits. Thank you.
That's the shortest one we've ever heard from you. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, the last area residents, that's the one we discussed, they are not present on the call at this time. And we did try and reach out to them via, we reset them the link via email, and we did try and reach out by call.
Okay, super. Thank you. I don't think we need to go back to the applicant for a rebuttal because there's really nothing to rebut. So if there's any questions from the panel, I'll open that up now. No? Laura?
If no one has any questions, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Please.
I believe this application more than meets the 4 tests. It is certainly desirable for the street. And I move for approval, subject to urban forestry conditions 2 and 3.
Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Oh. Ty, we'll give it to Dominic. All in favor? Okay, passed unanimously. Approved, thank you. Okay, next item, number 9, 34 Wilmar Road. And I'll just take a minute to pull that one up.
While you do that, Mr. Chair, I want to bring to your attention the agent, Trevor Gain, has asked to be on camera for his presentation, so I'm going to go ahead and make them a panelist now.
Super.
Trevor, you're now a panelist, so you can go ahead and turn your camera on by clicking the Start Video button at the bottom center of the screen. I'll go ahead and unmute you as well.
Okay, so this is an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage, and there is a total of 1 variance for GFI. And it's number, go ahead, Mr. Gain.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chair. My name is Trevor Gain. I'm the agent and applicant on the file. Would you like a presentation?
I'm not sure if we need a full presentation. Maybe just hit some highlights, and then if panel members have any questions, we can.
Yeah, certainly. So as you mentioned, a new single-family dwelling, we're seeking 1 variance, which is floor space index. There's an area-specific section in the bylaw here that just mentions the floor area is limited to a certain square meters plus a percentage of the lot. So it's a fairly decent sized lot, and a fairly decent sized home can be built as of right. And that was the direction that we originally took when we were designing this house. However, based on the context up and down the street, there's like significantly larger homes in this area. And when we did an as of right house, it was sort of the opposite of what you normally see at a committee of adjustment, where you go get minor variances to build a bigger house, which sometimes is out of character with the neighborhood. In our case, an as of right house would be out of character in the neighborhood. So we sort of switched gears, and we've increased the floor area to sort of keep up with the neighbors, and we maintain the kind of massing and neighborhood characteristics. So Overall, we do think this is extremely minor. All the other zoning aspects are in check and meet or exceed the bylaw and coverage and setbacks and height, soft landscaping, driveways, everything. We just had to ask for the single variance to increase our floor area from, I think it's 44%. I don't have it in front of me. Oh, I do. Instead of 44%, we're asking for 59.
Okay, thank you.
And that's essentially our application.
Super, thank you. I forgot to mention there was one letter of concern, and it was regarding drainage. I don't know if you want to comment, or I can make the comment that, you know, FSI doesn't necessarily affect drainage, lot coverage does, and there is no lot coverage variance here. Just wanted to acknowledge it.
I have read the letter, and I think a lot of it is just the neighbor had a voice. Because it's really dealing with the drainage swales and the drainage, I guess the mains,
Yes.
which is kind of on the city property, has nothing to do with us. And I will highlight, we have no landscaping, so we're sort of doing our part for absorption on the site.
Fair enough. I just neglected to mention that up front, so wanted to bring it up now. Thank you. Any questions? No. Into committee then, if anyone is ready for a motion.
Chair, I'm going to move that this application be approved. The one variance being requested is appropriate. It's a good application. It's good planning. The consultant did provide us with a very thorough justification letter, even on the one variance. I move approval with no conditions.
Seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Reddick. All in favor? Approved unanimously. Thank you, sir. Okay, item 10 has been deferred, so we're on to item 11, which is 18 Edgewater Avenue. And let me find that one. So this is a application to construct a two-story rear addition and a second-story addition above the existing garage. There are two variances being asked for, and I don't see any conditions being requested by any department. I have something about a zoning error on the first application, but maybe the applicant, okay, two variances. So, wrong page. Catherine Harrison is the agent?
Correct, Mr. Chair, and they are unmuted.
Ms. Harrison, welcome.
Hello. Thank you very much.
I don't think
Would you like a small explanation of why we're here in front of the committee again?
Yes, and I have some note somewhere, and I can't remember, it's not jogging my mind, that there was a zoning review error, and that's why you're back? Is that...
Yes, and it's one of these very rare and very unfortunate situations. So this project, with the exact same drawings that we are here with you today, were approved at committee on August 31st, where we had two variances we requested, which were for GFA and lot coverage. We went through the process. We had our approved ZAP released by the zoning reviewer. We made a building permit application. The application was fully approved in terms of the OBC. And I contacted the original reviewer because when a project goes for building permit, it has to be re-reviewed one more time by the zoning reviewer just to double check to make sure we're not, quote unquote, sneaking anything in. And that's when she said, oops, I missed a variance the first time. And as you can imagine, it has been rather upsetting for both the owner, who had moved out and has subsequently moved back in. And it's been a delay in construction. And yeah, it's been an upsetting process, but we are where we are. And so we kindly request the approval of these other two variances that were missed in the original review.
Thank you. Panel members? Questions, comments? Nope. Someone ready for a motion?
Chair, I'll move that the variance be permitted. There were two variances that were missed, one related to side yard, one related to exterior stairs.
Very nominal, approved, no conditions.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. All in favor? Unanimously approved. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Harrison. Item 12, 14 Snowberry Avenue. And if I just take a second to find that one.
Mr. Chair, while you look, I want to bring to your attention the area resident for 16 Snowberry is present on the call.
Okay.
So is the agent.
So this is an application to construct a two-story side addition and a new covered rear porch. And there are a total of 5 variances being requested. Planning is recommending refusal and basically stating that the application is not minor. Which number are we?
Number 12, Mr. Chair.
Joel, yeah, okay. So Joel Gerber is the agent, and is Mr. Gerber online?
Go ahead, Joel, you're unmuted.
Hello?
Hi, good afternoon. This is Joel here. Are you able to hear me now?
Good afternoon. Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you, sir.
Wonderful.
Can you tell us why you disagree with planning or give us a presentation?
Yes, of course. Thank you for your time and for hearing our application. It's a relatively small architectural proposal that we're putting forth, meant to add extra parking and 2 extra bedrooms for an aging multi-generational family. While architecturally, we feel that the variances are quite minor with regards to building length and setbacks. The items I think that planning were most addressing in their report with regards to the hard landscaping in the back, I think was just a poor judgment call on the client's side. And I mean, we're open to discussing either alleviating that variance or remedying. Unfortunately, due to the time constraints of our opportunity to talk to the community planner, we had gone into the application feeling that the building itself was quite minor, and we also were not able to collect the letter of support from the neighbor to the west, Mario Toledo from 12 Snowberry. But that was a quick introduction. The lot coverage with regards to the principal residence and the previously constructed and approved garage at the back was 41% lot coverage versus the 30, and the side yard setback was 0.66 meters as opposed to the 1.8. We did have that adjacent neighbor, share their signs of approval, but I think the area of contention and discussion maybe is regarding the hardscape. So the hangover, if you will, of a previous decision to overly, pour a backyard is, in my opinion, kind of not really impacting the urban realm or the aesthetics from the curb appeal or the street frontage, but it is a stormwater management and neighborhood consideration. So we're very open to kind of work on that. The roof eaves is a byproduct of the setback. It's 0.3 is allowed, and we're at 0.31 meters. But yeah, thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to field any questions or concerns of the neighbor present. I don't think any letters were submitted prior to this hearing, so if there's any discussion, I'd be happy to hear the objections from the neighbor.
Okay, I'm a little confused. You're saying you're willing to work with planning or willing to work with the neighbors, but you're going forward with this application. Are you withdrawing any of your variances?
We'd be open to withdraw the variance.
Oh, no, but we're not in negotiation panel, right?
No, I apologize. No, we decided to proceed with the variance, and I just want to, it was more for the conversation with the neighbor. I didn't know that there was any neighbors that were in opposition. That's all. But the client decided to pursue those variances, so that's why we're here. You're correct.
Okay, so you're not looking for a deferral, you're not looking to withdraw any of your variances, you're going forward with the application as presented today?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm not sure who you're going to work with. That's my confusion, but okay, thank you. Any questions from the panel members?
Chair, I have one
Please.
question.
Dominic, go ahead.
I just want to be clear. You're still seeking an 18% rear yard soft landscaping. Variance number 5, you still want to go with that variance? You said you're amenable to having conversations and discussions, but you're not prepared to either have that removed or reconsidered in some way? Am I
So
correct
I
in
guess
understanding that?
I guess to be clear, we with the timelines that the community planner had reached out to express the concerns, we are open to, the client was open to discussing that. I wasn't sure given this process, I honestly wasn't sure how that would work. I'm not sure if the deferral was appropriate or if it was a condition in the committee hearing. So I apologize for not understanding that process.
Yes, there is a speaker. I guess before we go to the speaker, last chance, I'm assuming you don't want to defer this. Okay, was there any other questions from?
Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, so you're going, I'm asking for a second time the same thing I asked the first time. You're not changing any of the variances, and you're not asking for deferral. You're going forward with this as it is. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
You were being very generous.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? If not, we're going to go to the other deputant.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and bring the area resident on to speak.
Good afternoon. My name is Dennis Biffis. I do live at 16 Snowberry.
Welcome, sir. Please express your concerns or your position.
Certainly. The back of the house where the homeowner has lifted the backyard at least 8 to 12 inches in the back. Now I'm getting a considerable amount of water coming into my property. Half of the backyard last year cannot be, I grow a very big garden. Nothing grows because of the waters. There's so much water back there, I can't even walk back through anymore. So I'm wondering, with this proposal that they're asking for the 2-story on the side, is that going to bring more water onto my property line, or onto my property, sorry?
Can't really say. What we're here to look at is not, we can't address what he's done to the landscaping in the past. What we're really here to address is what you think of his current proposal, whether you're in favor or against the variances that are being proposed.
The variance has nothing to do on my side of the property, it looks.
Okay.
It's more onto the 12 Snowberry. I was just more concerned of the water coming to my place.
That's a landscaping issue for sure, yeah. But that's, I just want to note that he's reducing or asking for less landscaping than what is there now. So I guess that does address that issue. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen, please. I'd like to have more green space if it's possible, because everything in the backyard has been concreted or paved.
Right, fair, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Gerber, I guess it's your turn to respond to the neighbor.
Yeah, no, it's a very valid concern, and I guess at this time it's prudent that we defer. I was unaware of any additional hardscaping being affected. It was an existing condition, and we
I asked you twice if you want to defer. Both times you said no. I think you've kind of lost your chance at this point in time.
Okay, I guess it's not applying the baseball the baseball strike three and you're out. I was actually just I was waiting to hear back. I was waiting to hear back from the client because that the decision was to push on. So I failed to get a response in time. So that I apologize. But if you would consider a deferral, I would be appreciative.
You can't ask for a deferral during your rebuttal or make any revisions. So that's why the chair was very pointedly asking you in advance of the neighbor speaking if you wanted a deferral. He gave you many opportunities to address that, and you were very adamant that you were not pursuing a deferral. So now you have to address the concerns of the neighbor, please.
Okay, fairly pointed out. The architectural proposal in front of you, as far as I know, does not add any further complication to the hardscaping requirement. The patio in the back and the access to the garage are existing conditions, and the side yard addition to the principal residence shouldn't cause any further site surface water runoff issues from our perspective.
Okay, any questions from panel? No. We'll take it into committee. Anyone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I believe this application was submitted prematurely, given the agent's comments about negotiating and possibly making changes and whatnot, but then refusing the opportunity to defer. With respect to variance number 5, it's the only concern I have, but it's a major one. I think 18% rear yard landscaping is grossly insufficient, and I believe that because of that, the application does not meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move refusal.
Seconder?
I'll happy to second that motion.
Ms. Alderson, all in favor? The application is refused. Thank you. Okay, our next application, Lucky 13, number 76 Hillcroft Drive. And I'm going to just take a second to find that one. Okay, this is an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 4 variances being sought. Planning is recommending a condition should we approve to tie to the site plan. Forestry is recommending conditions 1 and 2. And I believe we have just only the agent on this one, Adam?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
And I go ahead and unmute them now.
Thank you. Salvatore?
Good afternoon, committee members.
Good afternoon, welcome.
Committee staff. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Name is Sal Creamy. Address is 2572 Eglinton Avenue West.
Okay.
Jump into a brief presentation, Mr. Chair.
I don't think we need a full presentation, but maybe just hit some highlights and then if there's any questions. Thank you.
No, very brief. All the variances, as you can see, with the exception possibly of FSI, are very, very modest in nature. The impetus for the proposal before you is actually due to the fact that the owners were dead set on 2 houses, one, and then they saw another example immediately within the vicinity. The addresses of those houses are 64 Burrows and 88 Burrows. This house is actually a carbon copy, not a carbon copy, slight architectural differences of 88 Burrows. And planning had a chance to review as well. And I think we can agree the FSI is consistent with what we can consider the new norm for new builds within this area. And the only other thing that should be noted, the slight reduction in side yard setback is a result of the oversized one-car garage. They didn't propose a two-car garage. It's only a one-car garage, and it was just slightly wider, as you can provide both one vehicle parking space and some additional storage. And that was the only reason for that. And still, it being at 3 feet, maybe concerns about fire rating come up. But as you can see, elevations show that it's going to be a full masonry facade, which at a minimum is going to satisfy the 45-minute fire rating when we're less than 4 feet from the property line. All other walls are going to be at 4 feet.
Thank you. Any questions from panel members? Laura? No. Oh, so you have your microphone on. Okay. No worries. Well, maybe you want to move to a motion then.
It's just one comment, Chair. To the agent, you know, planning is tying you to the plans of November 24th, 23. You're okay with that, right? No changes have been made since.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Not a problem, thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Now my microphone isn't on. Now it was. Okay, now it is. So I can make that motion. I move for approval. I believe this meets the four plans under the four tests under the Planning Act, and move for approval subject to community planning's condition that it should be tied to the site plan submitted on November 24th as it pertains to the proposed lot coverage, including the rear deck, and also urban forestry's conditions of numbers 1 and 2. And that's it.
Seconder, Don?
Yeah, I'll second the motion, just with a comment, though, that my agreeing with this proposal is based on its own merits and has absolutely nothing to do with 88 boroughs, which is 3 houses east and 7 houses north. And I just wanted to make that clear, not only in this context, but just generally. I tend to look at immediate context for comparables, and I don't find 88 boroughs to be in the immediate context. However, I do second the motion to approve.
Thank you, sir. All in favor? Okay, approved unanimously. Thank you. Our next item, before I go to the next item, are we okay to plow through the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 without a break, or?
Let's try for it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, all right, let's do it. So item 14, 26 Knoll Drive, and this one has quite a few revisions. This is an application to construct a 1-story front addition and a 2nd-story south side addition. There were originally 5 variances. 2 have been removed and 2 have been reduced. And we have just the agent, I believe, Glenn Rubinoff.
That is correct, Mr. Chair, and I will go on ahead and unmute Glenn now.
Thank you. Mr. Rubinoff?
Yes.
Good day.
Good day.
Welcome. Again, I don't think we need a full presentation, but if you can hit some highlights, and we'll open it for questions.
Absolutely. So yes, this is effectively a 1-story front addition, which we reduced the depth of it, which eliminated 2 of the variances as a result in terms of length, overall length and coverage. It's effectively a 1-story front extension to allow for my client to have just a little deeper garage. It's intended for the purposes of more storage in the garage. It's just a partial extension. It's not across the entire house. It's just for the garage portion. And the way in which the property curves, it's the shortest point is what the front yard setback variance is. So we've eliminated variance 1 and variance number 5. And variance number 3, which is related to front yard setback, has been increased to 5.39 meters as a result of shortening the extension. So this was a discussion with planning, and planning agreed that if we pull it back a couple of feet, that they would be satisfied with that. So it's only a 1-story extension, so it has minimal impact on adjacent neighbors. I should point out that both immediate neighbors have submitted letters of support to the AIC but they were after the deadline, so you wouldn't have them in your file necessarily, but they were both consulted with, and both are in agreement with that. As a result of shortening pulling back the projection in the front, the density was reduced slightly to 0.536 from 0.54, which is variance number 2. Yeah, I think that's the other, that was basically the other change. I think it's a minor variance in terms of the impact, but it does allow my client the opportunity to provide more storage in his garage, as he's a classic car collector, and it's something to allow him the opportunity to have a heated space, an extra storage area for that in his own home. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Someone is ready for a motion?
Since no one has any questions, I'll make that motion. Are you okay with the condition that community planning has, that it is tied to the site plan and elevation drawings as held on file by the Committee of Adjustment December 29th as it relates to the front yard setback?
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Urban forestry seems to be okay. Transportation is okay. TRCA is okay. So yes, I believe this meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act. The move for approval, subject to community planning's condition that it be tied to the plans on file, site plan on file and elevation drawings.
Seconder?
Second.
Dominic? All in favor? Okay, unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, item 15, 98 Inveridon Road. And this is an application to construct a 1-story addition along the southeast side of the dwelling. There are 4 variances being requested. Forestry is requesting condition 2. Transportation has 3 conditions of approval. Metrolinx has advisory comments, and the agent is Joe Dome. And is Mr. Dome on the line?
Joe, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Is Joe Dome, 133 Torresdale Avenue, agent for the owner.
Okay, again, I don't think we need a full presentation, but if you can give us some highlights, and then we'll go for questions.
Yes, this is a fairly straightforward application for a garage addition for a 1-story dwelling on a corner lot. 4 variances are requested, as mentioned. Variance 1 and 2 refers to a proposed rear yard setback of 7.98 meters and a proposed length of 19.39 meters. And we feel the impact will be mitigated by the 1-story nature of the addition and the fact that the proposal is well under the bylaw for lot coverage, 24% versus 33% under the bylaw. Floor space index, height, front and or interior side yard setback. The length and garage position is consistent with 104 Inverin, which is 2 houses north, along with a number of other dwellings on corner lots in the neighborhood, such as 74 Inverin and 151 Rangoon Road. There is also a large full 2-story build on the corner lot at 26 Wellsworth Drive. Variance number 3 refers to the driveway width of 3.32 meters over the 3.2 meter bylaw. And I'd like to mention this is an existing condition. Variance number 4 refers to the south roof eave projection of 1.22 meters. And we do feel this is minor as well, considering the other mitigation factors. And planning staff had reached out in December, and after explanation and context, they don't have any concerns on file. And also, as far as I'm aware, no neighbors are in opposition, and transportation also has no concerns, and their conditions are acceptable. Overall, we feel the application is quite reasonable and minor in nature, and I'd be happy to answer any further questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions from the panel? If none, any discussion? Anyone ready for a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied the application meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval subject to urban forestry condition 2, and the 3 conditions of approval recommended by Transportation Services.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Reddick. All in favor? It's a unanimous approval. Thank you, everyone. Okay, number 16, 30 through Riverview Heights.
So, Mr. Chair, the agent is in person, and there is a person virtually that would like to be on video when it's their turn to speak.
I just want 1 second to find the application on my computer.
Perfect, Mr. Chair. It'll give me a moment to bring the podium screen onto the WebEx.
Perfect. Okay, this is an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 6 variances being requested, a number of which have been revised, and I'll leave that to the applicant, who is Mr. Milne Price, I can see.
That is correct.
Welcome. Please.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, Mr. Chair. Would you like me to state my name and address for the record?
I suppose.
Addison Milne Price, planner at Design Plan Services, located at 900 the East Mall, Suite 300, here on behalf of the owner. I can go through the changes to the public notice right now, if you would like.
Sure, and I just forgot, negated to say that there are advisory comments from Ravine and from TRCA, so just wanted to throw that in as well. And Transportation is requesting 3 conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the first variance is being reduced. That's a variance for FSI. It was originally requested at 0.82 FSI, and it has been reduced to 0.69 FSI with a GFA of 210.29 square meters. The second variance, the variance for front yard setback, was originally requested at 4.19 meters, and this has been increased to 6.12 meters. Just note that while I say increased, the setback has improved. Number 3, the TRCA setback has remained unchanged. Variance 4 for platform encroachment into the front yard setback was originally requested at 4.66 meters, and this has been reduced to 2.85 meters. Variance 5, the roof eaves encroachment, was originally requested at 3.9 meters of encroachment and 3.73 meters from the lot line. This has been reduced to 1.97 meters of encroachment and is 1.8 meters from the lot line. And lastly, variance 6 has remained unchanged. Now, this application, which proposes a new single detached dwelling, is the result of a significant amount of work with several departments and agencies, particularly the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority, but also with community planning staff and the Office of the Local Councillor. For several years, we've worked with the TRCA to accurately locate the stable long-term top of slope and come up with a design that the authority can sign off on. You'll note that there is a report, as mentioned, from the RNFP, Transportation, and the TRCA, and none of these reports took issue with any variance requested. I'll note that when we originally submitted this application, planning staff did reach out to us with concerns regarding the front yard setback, and after several rounds of revision, we have a revised plan that is now before you. Planning staff is in support of this revised plan. And with regard to the specific variances, variance 1 is a result of the fact that this property is indeed located in a regulated TRC area. As such, all of the area that is regulated by the TRCA is not included in the total area for the calculation of FSI. The proposed FSI, if it were to include the entire site area, would be a compliant FSI. Moreover, the proposed GFA is well in line with what has been previously approved along Riverview Heights, as well as the broader neighborhood, as evidenced by the following approvals, such as 57 Riverview Heights, approved at a GFA of 350 square meters, 10 Kent Royal Drive, approved at a GFA of 243.62 square meters, and 18 Kent Royal Drive, approved at 271 square meters. I can go into more if you would like, but I believe that's sufficient to make my point there. The second variance pertains to front yard setback, and I'll note that Variants 4 and 5 are essentially related to the front yard setback as well. Due to the location of the long-term tabletop of slope, the majority of this property, as you can see, is not able to be developed, particularly towards that rear of the property as it slopes towards the Humber River. As a result, the design that we came up with is slightly pushed forward to accommodate the additional size. I'd just like to point out that any property that redevelops along the north side of Riverview Heights will be experience similar issues with any sort of redevelopment. In fact, there is a recent approval for a front yard setback of 6.4 meters at 45 Riverview Heights, just a few houses down the road, which indicates that what I said previously, front yard setbacks will likely be common in this area, and the overall visual impact on the streetscape of this variance will be minor. Lastly, I'll touch on variance 3, which pertains to the required setback from the stable top of slope. TRCA has indicated no issues with this setback, and regardless of the decision of the committee, TRCA will also be required to issue a permit for any sort of development on this land. The last variance, variance 6, is a technical variance. It relates to the existing shed that's in the rear of the property. Since the existing dwelling will be removed and replaced, there will be a period of time where this ancillary structure will be the only structure on the property. This is a result of the property not having any area for a new ancillary structure. However, the TRC has permitted for this existing shed to be retained where it is. That concludes my presentation, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the panel? And if not, I believe we have an area resident online, Adam.
That is correct, Mr. Chair. Let me go ahead and get the process started for that. So the area resident, Serge. Serge, you've made a note that you want to be virtual for this, or you want to be on video for this. So I've gone ahead and made you a panelist. So you can now go ahead and click the Start Video button at the bottom center of the screen, and I'll go ahead and unmute you now as well. All right, Serge, you're unmuted.
My apologies, everyone.
Welcome.
In light of the adjustments that I've just learned about today, I don't have any concerns.
Well, that makes it easy. Thank you. I don't think we need a rebuttal. We can take this into committee then for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any discussion? Anyone ready for a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion on the revised application. I don't know, Madam Secretary, if I have to repeat all the changes that have been made. So on the revised application, Chair, indeed, the new FSI,
You can just say as revised, that's fine.
as revised, okay. So I'm moving approval subject to transportation conditions of January the 11th. There's no UFC, there's the TRCA, no comments, just a standard permit required. This represents good planning. The application meets the 4 tests. Move approval with transportation conditions.
Thank you.
Was there a mention of the ravine natural feature protection application required?
I just said that there's advisory comments from.
Okay, and I think TRCA had 2 conditions, including a permit.
But we don't impose their conditions.
Okay.
Because there's a separate permit process.
So I don't need to
have
make a
go
friendly
through.
amendment, and I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Laura. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Price. Okay, item 17, 9 Humberview Crescent. And I'm going to find that one.
Mr. Chair, while you bring that up, I want to bring to your attention the area residents for 13 Humberview are not present on the call at this time.
Thank you. So we have the agent only at this point.
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So 9 Humberview Crescent, this is an application to construct a new detached garage in the rear yard, and there is one variance. We have advisory comments from Ravine, from TRCA, and from Metrolinx. There are no conditions being requested by any city departments. And the agent for this application is Enzo Lucasano. Adam?
That is correct. Enzo, you're unmuted. Go ahead. Enzo?
Hello?
Enzo, go ahead. Mr. Chair, Enzo is present on the call. He is unmuted. Oh, there he is.
Good
Can you hear me?
We can now.
Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Enzo Lacasano. I'm from Arch DWG, and I am the agent for this application.
Okay.
If I could get, if I can get staff just to put up just the one image of the existing garage. Perfect.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
So this is, yeah, it's actually quite an interesting site. Part of the driveway is actually not even it's the property of the adjacent property is owned by that. So we have an easement that goes back to this existing garage. Basically, we're rebuilding a new garage, a little bit larger than what's there. We're roughly matching the existing height. And the only reason for that is to match the architectural integrity of the existing house with a small dormer. That's pretty much it.
That's an extremely interesting area.
Yes, it is. And hard to find.
Yeah. Any questions from panel? There's no one else to speak on this, I'm assuming.
Yeah, thanks for asking again, Mr. Chair. I just did another double check to make sure, and no, the area resident that signed up for 13 Humberview is not present.
Okay, so any questions?
And just to make a note, Mr. Chair, we did get approval from TRCA clearance. Ravine is just reviewing the report from TRCA as well, so we don't suspect any issues from both those departments.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, I'm just curious. So I think you said, and maybe I didn't gather it because I wasn't looking at the site map here, but I presume you gain access to this property via easement across number 11.
Yes.
That is correct.
So this property,
yeah, there
curiously,
is a
doesn't front onto a public
10-foot easement.
Yeah.
It actually doesn't front onto anything.
Exactly. That's what I'm noticing.
It actually, well, considering what you think the front is, so
exactly.
the front of the garage faces, because it is a crescent, so it's almost like a side entry off of Humberview Crescent, but going through the property of number 11.
Yeah,
as
interesting.
indicated on the site plan.
Okay,
but the entry to the house actually fronts the garage, which is
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
I'm sure they have a lot of issues with Canada Post and Zoom and anyway, very interesting.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chair,
no
just
problem. Thank you.
on that same vein, sorry, Enzo, I didn't get your last name, but you did see Transportation Services comments, correct?
Yes.
There are no conditions, but there's an advisory comment that you might want to alert your residents to.
Yeah, and as you can see from the photo, it's all kind of graveled area. I understand that there is an understanding between the neighbors, but I can see down the road it could end up being an issue. But they realize that there is a 10-foot entrance easement, which he is restricted to.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone ready for a motion?
Chair, I'm prepared to move approval of the application. There are no urban forestry conditions and there are no transportation conditions. What's being requested is desirable in this case.
Thank you, Mr. Gully.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Reddick. All in favor? Okay, we have unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Two more. Number 18, 68 Robert Street. And I'm going to take a minute to find that one.
While you do that, Mr. Chair, I want to bring to your attention that the area resident at 78 Robert Street has confirmed to us that they will not be speaking.
Okay. So, number 18, 68 Robert Street. This is a proposal, an application to construct a one-story rear addition and a second and third story addition above the existing dwelling. There are 3 variances being requested. Urban Forestry is requesting condition 2 and 3. Planning is requesting tying to elevation drawings should we approve. And I believe there are revisions in the added materials. Variances 1 and 3 have been reduced. There is one letter of objection, and there's a letter of objection regarding a shed. And the speaker is Paul Murdoch. And is the agent is virtual, I'm assuming? Not seeing anyone else here in the room?
Yeah, I'm here if you guys can hear me.
Thank you. We can hear you. So
Okay.
Please proceed.
All right, I'll give a little rundown of the design here. Along Robert Street, you'll find an eclectic mix of architectural styles, sizes, and heights, many of which would exceed the allowable FSI and it's allowed by the zoning bylaw. You can see that on page 2 of the additional material PDF. So the home's designed in response to this. It's a contemporary fusion of some of the styles found along the street, as you can see on page 4 of the same PDF. We're retaining masonry walls and piers of the first floor of the house in an attempt to preserve some of the character of the home. Second and third floor additions are designed with lighter materials to reduce the overall impact, visual impact of the massing and provide a hierarchy of materials. The rear addition, or the rear portion of the third story is set back an additional 3.4 meters from the north and 0.3 meters on both the east and west to appear as a third volume that's kind of slipped between the 2 main walls. Which also helps to reduce the visual impact of the increased height of the side walls that we're looking for. So the max height there is 8.5 meters. We're seeking 9.85, which we've brought down from 10.46 since discussions with community planning. Part of the reason for requesting the higher height is to provide adequate headroom for a functional third story, but this also mitigates water runoff onto the property on the east. If we're forced to slope the roof at the 8.5 meter height to a peak there, we'd have an eave overhang issue or runoff onto that property. So this gives us a flat roof. We can slope to the backyard through scuppers and to the side and there to the front yard. So it's the 8.5 that's restricting us there and what we're looking for. The owner really has the best intentions for this project and the street. He owns his own construction company with hopes of building his dream home. Functional living space for his growing family and becoming part of this community. Part of this dream includes providing a home for his aging parents. And to make this dream come true, it really requires a larger FSI than the 0.4 that's allowable. So we're seeking 0.69, which we also have reduced from 0.74 after discussions, or 0.697, apologies, after discussions with city planning again. So we're also seeking a side yard setback, minimum 0.6. We're seeking 0.2. And if you look on the site plan on sheet A004, we're demolishing the existing rear addition, which is kind of in disrepair right now anyways, and which is currently non-conforming as well with the 0.21 meter setback. We'll be reducing this just by 0.1 meters to align with the retained portion of the existing dwelling. We're also extending it out 1.87 meters just to align with the neighbor at on the east, just so that we're not impeding, causing any visual obstructions there. We also do not exceed the maximum allowable building length of 17 meters or depth of 19. We're only proposing 14 meters. And this larger footprint, the foundation allows for a more functional secondary suite in the basement, which aligns with the city's initiatives to address housing shortages. We do have the letter of opposition from 78 Robert Street. Since that letter was uploaded, the owners knocked on the door, introduced himself, and discussed the proposal with the owners there. The objections in the letter are referencing the original FSI and main wall height from the zoning review on November 13th, prior to our revisions January 3rd. So my understanding is that they were pleased to hear we had made these reductions. We understand there's also concern for the number of potential vehicles on the property. We don't really see this as a significant issue, as it really be the owner, his partner, and his partner that would have vehicles as their children, and his elderly parents would not be driving. The letter also notes that the driveway is shared, and if a parking pad was installed, the property would not comply with front yard landscaping requirements. The driveway is not shared. It's a private driveway that's actually over 3 meters wide by almost 20 meters long, already capable of fitting 4 cars as it exists. So no parking would ever be required in the future. There's also a concern in the letter that the home would have a potential for 7 or more bedrooms. We have 6 bedrooms, and then the 3rd story has what we're showing as a gym or a much needed office space in today's world. And I believe that addressed all their concerns, or that would address all their concerns. We've addressed the concerns of planning staff. There's a staff report noting this, and they had the recommendation that if approved, we are tied to these plans, which we agree with. So yeah, I think we have the planning staff. We have 11 letters of support. There was another one that came in today so we have both neighbors on both sides across the street and in the rear yard. And they all agree that the variances would be minor in nature and positively impact the neighborhood by restoring the dwelling and bringing new life to Robert Street. So with that, I'll
thank you,
pass it
sir.
off to any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Adam, we have no other deputants for this item.
Mr. Chair, there was an area resident, but we did get confirmation directly from them they will not be speaking.
Okay, super. I have a couple of questions, but do panel members have any? Leave it open up to you guys. Don?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to confirm, community planning has requested a condition of approval that the proposed development shall be constructed as illustrated on the east and west side elevation drawings submitted on January 3rd, 2024. That was my birthday. And held on file by the Committee of Adjustment as it relates to main wall height. I just want to confirm that those drawings show a wall height of 9.85 meters as opposed to your original 10.46.
Yes, they do.
Okay,
on
so
page A200, you can see that.
So yeah, my bottom line is if we approve this with that condition, it restricts the wall minimum main wall height to 9.85 meters.
Yeah, which we agree with.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I believe there's no variances for the equipment shed in the back.
No, that's the other thing. There were during the first.
I see. Okay, and you're stopping the driveway at the back of the house, so you're not going to be using that as a garage then.
No, exactly.
Okay.
It stops at the house. Yeah.
Just out of personal curiosity, what's an equipment shed?
I don't know if I should have put it. Well, as I mentioned, the owner he owns his own construction company, so a kind of workshop, tools, that kind of stuff.
Okay. That was my only question. Thank you. Panel members, any other questions or no? Someone ready for a motion?
I can make that motion. I was really happy to hear about all the outreach to the community. It is a very tight community, so that was in the applicant's favor for sure. So I do believe this application meets the 4 tests, the revised application, I should say, meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act and move for approval. subject to community planning's condition, which has already been stated, but I can state it again if necessary, shall be constructed as illustrated on the east and west side elevation drawings submitted on January 3rd, 2024, and held on file by the Committee of Adjustment as it relates to main wall height. Urban forestry's conditions number 2 and 3. And that's it.
Okay, seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Sophie. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, so it looks like the last item for the morning session.
It is, and we're going to proceed. I believe Mr. Gully will be back in time. I just, okay, this is the application. This is for 81 Eagle Road, and the application is to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 3 variances being sought. 2 of the 3 have been revised, and forestry is requesting condition 1 and condition 2. And I believe that's all that we have. And there's only the agent. We have no other speakers. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. Only the agent.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon.
So I'm Antonella Wild, the agent. Should I proceed or?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so a very quick presentation really is just that the variances we worked through with community planning, as you see, they were revised as reflected on the page on the screen right now. The owners have lived in the home since 2013, so they know their neighbors well and have discussed with everyone. They didn't circulate a petition per se, but they did receive verbal support. We have a list of comparables that we worked with community planning on to achieve these variances you see today, and they're obviously well aware of the urban forestry conditions. Be happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Any questions from panel members? Seeing none, is anyone ready for a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied the application meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval, subject to urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
As revised.
As revised.
Okay, seconder?
I'm happy to second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. And that brings us to the end of the morning session.
Beautiful.
What are we going to look at for return time, 2 o'clock? Or is that too early?
Mr. Chair, I see the Deputy Secretary Treasurer nodding their head to your 2
2 o'clock.
o'clock comment, so.
Okay,
We'll return at, the 1 p.m. session will start at 2 p.m.
thank you.
Thank you.
Don't waste your extra 5 minutes.
If members would like, they could turn their cameras off now. That'd be great.
We're normally done for the day now. 19.
We have been lately.
Yeah.
I think we need
We got 17 more.
Tim's, I'll meet you guys over them.
Sure. Yeah,
You gonna drive
I'm
over?
not sure if I'm going to walk today. Yeah.
Well, I got a car.
I don't know. Do we have time for that?
To go to Tim's?
Tim's or Cardinal?
I don't think we have time for it.
Let's do a fast